all good things come out of a bad event.
Mhm.
So even though a bad event may still happen, he still is going to will the good out of that bad thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, and I love how he says this. He says something may fall outside the order of any particular active cause, but not outside the order of the universal cause, under which all particular causes are included. So this is the way I like to see it, is that God establishes the order of all things. Okay, so he establishes the universal cause. He could have set up a world where everything worked perfectly, where everything was his direct will and everybody is friendly and nobody ever lies or commits crimes and nobody ever kills anybody and nobody commits fraud or robbery or theft. And you'd have this perfect world. But what God did instead was that he created a world and he allowed what's called contingencies. He allowed people to step outside of his perfect will by sinning, because if he didn't allow that, we could not love him. You know, I teach a class at school and I tell them all the time, I said, you know what, if I could just say, snap my fingers and every single person in this class has to be perfectly attentive and perfectly obedient and just
Every teacher would love that.
hanging on every word that I say, I still wouldn't like that.
No,
because it wouldn't first of all be any reflection of anything that I've done, and secondly, I've taken away their free will. Because now I can say, you know what, Sally is so virtuous. Now, Fred over there, not so much. But Sally's virtue stands in contrast to Fred's disobedience, right? So she can, but if I take away the freedom, then Sally's not virtuous. She's just a robot, right?
Right.
But at the same time, God, in this universal order, has said, okay, and kind of like what you're saying, William, before, is that when something gets out of line, he brings it back in some other way by bringing a good out of it, right?
Right,
And so
exactly.
the overall schema is going to work according to God's will, even if he allows certain things to kind of fall away from it.
Right.
Okay. Does that make sense? Those of you who are
That does, yeah.
going in and out of our broadcast,
He keeps trying to make me go crazy today. And
did something else go down?
No, just one's gone down twice, and the other one I'm just waiting for it now to go down a second time, any possible second. But so far we're holding steady. So I hope everyone found their way back to us again on our Back to
Yeah.
the Father YouTube page. But it does make sense. It feels like seems like one of the harder things to sometimes explain. To others especially.
Can I give an example?
Please give examples.
I may, again, I don't know. We've been doing this for so many years. I don't remember what examples I've done, but William probably hasn't heard this for sure. So, I've got a 10-year-old son, and let's say, I say to myself, okay, I'm going to bring some candy home. And when I go home, if my wife says that Patrick was good today, I'm going to give him candy. If my wife says that Patrick was really bad today, I'll discipline him and I'll put him in the corner for 10 minutes. Okay. So I've allowed a contingency where Patrick can choose, to be good or to not be good. And in one case, I'm going to reward him. And in another case, I'm going to discipline him. Okay, so it really doesn't matter what Patrick does. In either way, my will is fulfilled because I set up the plan.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so I set it up where,
Either way,
I win.
You win.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to drive me crazy because a few weeks ago in my young adult group that I help lead, this question came up, and I knew there was an example you used with like a father and son, and I was trying to explain it to help everybody, and I slaughtered it. Now I need to drill this in my memory.
Yeah.
As I was talking, everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, "This is not helping, is it?"
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So yeah.
But that's a really good example, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so God says, okay, you do something wrong, you sin, well, you're going to be brought back into an order through discipline or through punishment or some kind of thing, so another. So, all right. So I know you'll let us know if there's any comments out there, but hopefully, is this making sense? Those of you who are still with us, is this making sense on a scale of 1 to 10? And we've got a few more here that we're going to talk about. So the next one says, is the will of God changeable? I probably can guess that one because that kind of has to do with whether it's always
I think this might be the
fulfilled,
only
right?
one we get perfectly right on the first go. I'm going to say no.
Okay, let me read this. The will of God is entirely unchangeable. On this point, we must consider that to change the will is one thing, to will that certain things should be changed is another. Okay, stay with me. It is possible to will a thing to be done now and its contrary afterwards, and yet for the will to remain permanently the same, whereas the will would be changed if one should begin to will what before he had not willed. Okay, so I could say to my 10-year-old son, you are not allowed to drive a car, right? But then, 6 years from now, you can drive a car. And he'd be like, oh, your will changed. No, it didn't. Circumstances changed, right?
Right.
So now you can because you're 16, right?
Exactly.
So did my will change? Or are there some little, variables that, classic example, you can't, children cannot have relations with somebody of the opposite sex, but when they get married, okay, now you can,
Yeah, you
right?
can. Yeah.
So that very fundamental rule changed because circumstances changed, right?
Right.
So I think that's, he's saying, but it doesn't change. And the obvious question that comes up with this is like, well, what about prayer? What about prayer? Don't I change God's mind when I pray and, God wasn't going to give me that, that the perfect husband for Sissel or, but now
Still waiting on that one, by the way.
and if you're out there, by the way, wouldn't that be awesome if you met your future husband?
On Back to the Father.
You would have to invite me to the wedding.
You were never going to be it. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, seriously. I mean, if it comes as a result of this show.
Yeah, I guess you do get that in that regard. Dave and I recently played a little bit of matchmaker with some people we know here in North Texas, and I'm like, I just at least want a piece of cake. That's all I ask. Piece of the wedding cake, please.
Yeah, that would be kind of tacky. You're not invited, but we'll bring a piece of cake to you the next day. Okay, we don't necessarily want you to be at the wedding. Okay, so all right, so moving on. Does the will of God impose necessity on the things willed? Okay, and since the divine will is perfectly efficacious, it follows not only that things are done which God wills to be done, but also that they are done in the way that he wills. Now, God wills some things to be done necessarily and some contingently. We've already kind of talked about that. I gave an example, like he wills the fish to swim down the stream, and that fish is going to swim down the stream, right? The fish has nothing to say about it. He wills the bird to build a nest, okay? But does he will me to drive the speed limit on the way home tonight? Yeah, and his perfect will, yeah. But am I going to do it? Well. With all the traffic, probably with all the traffic we have, I probably will. I'll probably be going slower than the speed limit, right? Okay, so what he's going to say here is there are some things that he imposes necessity on, and some things that he doesn't. But again, that's that big, universal cause and all the things that in the world that play a part, and he allows contingencies within it. Okay. Does God will evil? Okay. Does God will evil? You probably know the answer to this one, right?
No.
You don't? You think you
No was our answer.
Because you're thinking, well, since
Our
there is
answer was
evil.
no.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're not saying you don't know. You're saying
Right,
the
I'm
answer is
saying
no.
no is the
Okay.
answer.
Say no, yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay. Basically, he says, okay, look at this example here halfway through, okay? About 5 lines down. The fornicator has merely pleasure for his object, and the deformity of sin is only an accompaniment. Now, the evil that accompanies one good is the privation of another good. Now, therefore, would evil be sought after, not even accidentally, unless the good that accompanies the evil were more desired than the good of which. So he's saying kind of what you mentioned before. Yeah. And he uses an example of look at this. When a lion kills a stag, his object is food, to obtain which the killing of the animal is only the means. Okay, so a stag or a deer being killed, that's kind of a sad thing, right? That's kind of an evil in the sense that something living died. But the lion's not thinking that.
Right.
The lion's like, man, I got a tasty stag here that I get to chow down on. So does God allow a lion to eat a stag? Does he allow us to kill chickens, to kill cows? It's kind of an evil with a little e, isn't it? I mean, that there's something has to die in order for us to. But that's the cycle of life, right?
Depends on who you're talking to. Vegans would very much say that was
but-
evil with a big E.
But but vegans have to kill something to live.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and also I think a lot of the delicious plants that we eat, a lot of the vegetables and stuff like that, farmers do have to kill animals to keep those plants going.
They have to.
They have to keep animals out of their fields somehow.
Oh, they have to kill them to keep.
They put
so
lots
something
of
has
things,
to die for the vegetarian to live,
yes,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's kind of a flawed argument usually.
Yeah, interesting. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do, a random aside, I always, as a kid, watching any nature documentary, when the guy's sitting there with the camera and they're showing the cutest little animal and then it's the prey and then the predator approaching it and they're like, it's heartbreaking to watch, but we can't do anything to interrupt and must let nature take its course. And I'm like, I could not. I'd let that bunny have another day. Like, I would absolutely be running over there and grabbing the bunny and like running.
You know that
drove me crazy.
You bring up a good question because I've had a lot of like constrictor snakes in my life, and there was a time in my life when I wouldn't say I take joy, but I found it interesting to like throw a mouse in with a boa constrictor and see the snake, eat the mouse and constrict it and all that. Or I used to, get frogs and throw them in with water snakes, and the frogs are jumping all over the place and all that. But it's kind of weird to take pleasure in that.
Yeah.
You can get frozen rats and frozen mice, and then they'll still eat them. But I don't know. I think boys much more so than girls take it's almost like a sadism. Like you enjoy seeing something get killed. I know you wouldn't enjoy that, would you?
It's not pleasant. I mean, my brother caught a few different animals growing up, and we would definitely feed it some things, and there was some fascination with it, but I ultimately didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. We had a rat one. We had a snake one time, my buddy and I, and it was like a rat snake or something, and so we went and bought a rat, and a rat snake would eat a rat, right? And we put it in with it, and they kind of both went to their own corners, and nothing happened. And we were thinking, come on, snake, and it was the proper size so that the snake would, be able to eat the rat and all that. So then we got bored, and we put the lid on the aquarium, and we went inside and came back about 30 minutes later. The rat had eaten the head off the snake. And so it was a total reversal. The rat had killed the snake. So then, being punky little kids that we are, we're thinking, okay, we went down to the woods and we got a bunch of scorpions, and we threw like 5 scorpions in with the rat because we're trying to kill the rat. We don't want a rat, right? We wanted the snake, right? So now we're trying to kill the rat with scorpions. Well, the rat methodically went up to each scorpion, grabbed its little tail, bit it off and ate the scorpions. So I was like, man, this rat would not die,
That is bizarre.
So I'm not going to tell you what happened next. But,
Thank you.
the rat's no longer alive, let's just say. This was about 40 years ago.
Freeze-dried rat is what, and Lori's saying ew, Dave, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry to go there, right? So, okay,
This took a change.
So we're down to our last 2. I want to read this one interestingly. I'll throw out the question, does God have free will? Okay, think about that. Have you ever thought about that? Does God have free will? And Thomas is going to say yes and no.
Of course he is. Someone last night, we were, I think we did a Q&A with my priest at my parish, and I think someone asked a question. He's like, well, yes and no. And under my breath, I was like, that's very Aquinas of you.
Yeah. I mean, it's, but, yes and no is kind of, so listen, I'm just going to read this. Okay, and then let's chat about this amongst ourselves, okay? We have free will with respect to what we will, not of necessity, nor by natural instinct. Okay, so, which I think what that means is like that donut example, right?
Yeah.
You did not have free will in regard to the desire for it, okay? We know that's true. I didn't ask to desire a donut, okay? Right. So we don't have free will in a lot of regards. Okay. I don't have free will in regard to whether I get tired tonight.
Right.
Okay. And I also, Thomas would say, echoing Aristotle, is that we don't have free will in our desire for happiness. Okay. That is innate in us. We all want to be happy, and we cannot not want to be happy. Okay. So then he says, for our will to be happy does not appertain to free will, as I just said, but to natural instinct. We naturally want to be happy. Hence, other animals that are moved to act by natural instinct are not said to be moved by free will. Okay, the snake wanting the mouse, the bird wanting the worm, that's not free will. It's natural. Since then, God necessarily wills his own goodness, but other things not necessarily. He has free will with respect to what he does not necessarily will. That's interesting. Okay, if he necessarily wills a bird to build a nest, does that mean that's not part of God's free will? That's what it seems to be saying. But if he wills Sissel to, whatever, practice temperance,
He usually does. Yeah.
That's free will, because there's a possibility that it won't happen. Okay. And she chugs, 10 beers tonight. That would be very intemperate to do that. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't like beer.
So I don't. To me, it's really interesting, because it means that only certain parts of the divine will are free will, and not all of them.
Interesting.
Okay.
A little confusing.
That
but
is very confusing.
Yeah, I'll get it.
I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there. Any other comments out there among social media land? We're down to our last article of this 19th question of prima pars of the Summa. And I'll throw it out this way, because what he's going to basically say, and he says it in a very Thomistic way, whether the will of expression is to be distinguished in God. What he means is, are there passions in God? Okay, does God, it says in Scripture, God gets angry, God.
Old Testament,
Yeah,
especially.
very, very Old Testament kind of thing. So would you say God has passions? I heard a talk one time where somebody, a professional theologian, said, God does have passions. God had feelings, because he had, we got to be able to relate to God, and certainly he's not just this passionless, feelingless being that,
Yeah, I mean, Jesus did become man.
Yeah.
So, he did did experience things like
Jesus had passions.
Yes, Jesus did.
Yeah.
Like, he did experience, like, sadness and happiness. Like, when Lazarus died, he was sad.
But what about God? God,
the first person of
the Blessed Trinity.
Trinity,
God is God in his essence.
Yeah.
Does he have any passions? Okay, so let me read this.
Yeah, let's see what St. Thomas Aquinas says.
Some things are said of God in their strict sense, others by metaphor. When certain human passions are predicated of the Godhead, metaphorically, this is done because of a likeness in the effect. Hence, a thing that is in us a sign of some passion is signified metaphorically in God under the name of that passion. Thus, with us, it is usual for an angry man to punish, so that punishment becomes an expression of anger. So when somebody punishes, you assume they're angry. Therefore, punishment itself is signified by the word anger, when anger is attributed to God. So when God punishes in Scripture, we assume, he is angry. Okay, so we've assumed, we've assigned a passion to him. In the same way, what is usually, my screen got blocked here. What does it say? In the same way, what is usually with us an expression of will is sometimes metaphorically called the will of God. Okay, so it's only metaphorical.
Gotcha.
God doesn't have any passions.
Okay.
Yeah, so it says, Adrian says, no, God in the communication of idioms has passions in the person of Christ, but properly speaking, God does not. And
What
Adrian,
he said.
Yes, exactly. Summed it up. Earlier, Adrian did ask, hold on, I lost it. Does God fulfill everything he desires?
Does God fulfill everything he desires? Wow, that's a different twist on it. Thomas didn't ask that directly. So does God fulfill everything he desires? Does I don't know if Adrian's still watching or not, but does Adrian know the answer, or is he
Asking.
or is he just asking? Does God? Okay, say it again. Does
God fulfill everything that he desires?
Does he fulfill? Because that would seem like there's some like operation of the Godhead.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he wants William to never lie again the rest of his life. Does God fulfill that? Because I think if he fulfilled it, then he would take away your free will.
Logically, that does make sense.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know.
Adrian,
That's
you still
interesting.
there? See, that's the danger of asking a question. If you bail away, then
Then we're just like,
the host
we're
starts,
left in the
talking
dust
about
over
you.
here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just kind of hit and run. I mean, you ask a question and then you take off, right?
Lori's asking a question. Why do we ask for intercessions?
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Now this is my understanding of, and there's I know you guys talked about prayer a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding, the best way that I can explain prayer is that God creates again a big system where he allows for contingencies. Like, let's say, like hypothetically, I set up in my mind, I tell Sissel, I said, if William comes in next week and asks if he can start getting paid for his internship, we're going to let him. But if he doesn't ask, we won't. Okay, so I've set up a little system in my mind where either way my will is fulfilled. But the contingency is that you have to ask. Okay? Now it may be that I don't will at all for you to start getting paid, so I don't even create that scenario. Okay? So then if you were to come and say, "Hey, can I start getting paid?" Well, that was never even in my mind. Okay? So that's like an unanswered prayer.
Okay.
Whereas if I said, "Sissel, I think if he asks, we're going to go ahead and start paying him $1,000 a show." Okay, what Sissel gets
Really?
paid. Yeah, we're going to give him the same rate that Sissel
Where
gets
is this
paid, right?
money?
All I have to do is ask.
Okay, but then if I say, well, if he doesn't ask, then okay. Or I might say, okay, but then let's say William says, Saint Francis of Assisi, please intercede for me, but maybe I set up a system where if William asks for the intercession of a saint, I'm going to create that scenario. Okay, you see how it works?
Yeah, I
Like
think
so God in his simplicity and his beauty is creating all these scenarios where if Sissel will only ask tonight for that perfect husband, God is going to have him come and knock on her door tomorrow morning.
That would be ideal because
Okay.
I don't like going out.
He's going to come knocking on the door.
works.
And, okay, so yeah, but then that also, so anyways, that's.
I also think
makes
that
sense.
I think Aquinas mentions it a little bit when we were talking about prayer a few weeks ago, and then also there's other saints that comment on it too. That sometimes it's also prayer is something that helps us as well, either have our mindset better aligned with God's will, and be open to things that maybe weren't in our plan as well. So it changes us a little bit more.
Yeah, right. It allows us to be reminded of our dependency. Hey, James, can I ask you one more thing? I'm sorry. It's just the nature of how I had to jump into the show today right after being off the air. I have something on the printer. Do you know where the printer is? That far room? Would you mind grabbing that for me and bringing it in? I really appreciate that. I got off the air at 1, ran in here, and here I am. So I'm not normally this demanding.
Sorry,
of
we normally are a little more set up. I was just getting a lot of things done right before the show.
So I willed that they have a water and my printing thing here, but apparently they're not in union with my will, right?
By the way, Adrian says that he was here. He says his question was, it's a play on the Protestant position of once saved, always saved. And then also, he says that Alan Smith said, I will find her at a Taco Bell wearing a miraculous medal. So he's hitting up Taco Bell every day now. So
What? You totally lost me there.
So he's saying that someone told
Thank
him
you.
that he's going to meet his future wife at a Taco Bell when she's wearing a miraculous medal, which, listen, I love a Taco Bell every once in a while, but like, you may not live long enough if you eat Taco Bell every day to find her.
right. You may get married and die of a heart attack at your entrance, right? Okay.
Oh,
okay.
goodness.
And I could get a little superstitious too. It's
Yeah,
like, I'm going to
sure.
start showing up at Taco Bells. And,
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of things that I think, especially for young adults, you get into sometimes older people really do mean well, but they'll say things like, well, you're just not in a place where God is ready to have you have a relationship, or you maybe need to do this before you have a relationship, or this is, it's kind of like, listen, you never know when God's going to do it. It's not necessarily all these magical things have to be lined up. It's not necessarily that you're, there's just sometimes people say things that are like, oh, maybe he just is telling you need to do this, or something. And you're like, that may not be the case. It just may not be.
It can be kind of complicated.
Very complicated.
Yeah, it can be very complicated. All right. I think that's it. That's the will of God. Do you feel like you know a little bit more about the will of God
Yes.
than you did
Definitely,
50 minutes ago? Yeah, it's interesting stuff. See, if we did we just did a question of the Summa pretty thoroughly, okay, a question. There's 631 questions. So if we did one of those every week and we did a show every week of the year, we would finish the whole Summa, I think, in 7 years, okay? But we'd have to do a question a week.
7
Are y'all committed to that? Remember, you're getting $1,000 a show.
I'll be 32.
I mean, maybe.
I will be 32.
And we'll still be talking about your future husband.
Because I don't have time, because I'm always here studying about the Summa. It's like, I'll meet my husband.
There's some guy who's like, hey, any girl that could sit through a show once a week on the Summa, that's the girl for me.
That's the girl for me. And I make
Yeah.
a mean margarita and old fashioned. All right.
And all you have to do is think about it.
All I have to do is think about it and poof.
You will it.
You can't see it, but I can see it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So, all right, well, you guys are going to be so impressed with my creativity here. Okay, just be impressed. All right, because what we're going to do in this trivia game, and dear friends out there in social media land, you can certainly play along as well, is that we are going to do trivia about people who have the name Will.
I thought you were going to talk about people's wills, and
Okay.
I like their wills.
And you might be able to relate to people
yeah.
named Will
Oh, yeah.
because you are Will, right? Okay,
Oh,
famous.
my brother's Will Willem.
I have a brother, William. Isn't that
Well,
amazing? James, do you have a
wow.
brother named William?
No.
Okay. No. He's like, no.
He broke. Do you have an
Okay.
uncle named
Do you have anybody in your family named William?
Do you have
Okay.
a friend?
All
Oh,
right.
darn.
So now also remember, William, has different, variations. And so it doesn't have to be just the name Will, although many of them are. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Y'all ready?
I hope so.
First one to get it.
All right.
This one. Okay. Here we go. English playwright, poet, and
William
William
performer.
Shakespeare.
I think I said it first. I'm pretty
I think we got it just like
barely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one got it first. Okay.
I was saying William. I mean, I was just barely getting William, and you said Shakespeare.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Hey, Forrest's oldest son is named William.
Oh, is that right? We all got
Yes,
a William.
the William.
I have an uncle, Bill.
There
I
you
have a
go.
brother, Bill, who is
Does anyone
William.
have an uncle named Bob, by the way? Bob's your uncle. I have an uncle named
I
Bob.
don't.
You don't.
I actually
William.
have a brother-in-law named Bob.
I have an uncle named Bob.
Why?
Bob's your
What's up
uncle.
with Bob?
Well, you have the expression Bob's your uncle.
Oh, okay. All right.
on.
Okay, number 2. This one interns on Back to the Father.
William Kirkendall.
William, come on, man.
I did not see that coming.
You
I did
literally
not.
could have just said me.
William, I'm trying to give you. I always want Sissel to lose. I mean, come on. How much easier can
just
I
did
make
not
it
see
on
that one
you?
coming.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
hilarious.
I should have seen.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you should have seen
you're really
that.
down
That
to
was
James and
hilarious.
William. Okay, so so then that's here. Okay, the first Norman
William the Great. Oh no.
Okay,
Wait.
the first Norman monarch of England.
William the Conqueror.
Now,
William the First.
Mr. Monarch didn't get
William the Second.
the.
William,
No,
what?
William the Conqueror.
I was
That's it.
right?
Yeah.
We had this question
Because
last
we
week.
mentioned, we used this as trivia last week. I actually involved because
What?
why would we involve him? Because
Why?
we were talking about famous monarchs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Thankfully,
That
there
is
aren't a lot
actually
of Williams.
quite literally probably the only reason why I got that right.
Occasionally known as William the, a word I can't even say. Starts with BAS and then a T.
Oh,
Okay.
that's unfortunate for him.
William, yeah.
His
I
name-
wouldn't want to be like Dave.
Can I make a
the-
guess? His name is William.
Yeah. No, William the Conqueror.
Oh, that's what he's also known as William the Bat.
Yeah.
that one.
guy.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
same
yeah.
guy.
I wasn't going to say it,
Ruled
by the
from
way.
1066 until he died in 1087.
Right.
Okay. You've heard of him, right?
Yes, yes.
I don't think I
All
remember
right.
that in my research of last week.
Okay,
but
so
I was on
okay.
polite websites.
Known for this is a new one here. Okay, known for his extraordinary archery prowess. Oh, he's a famous figure in Swiss folklore.
Oh.
He was instructed to use his crossbow to shoot an apple that had been put on
Yes,
his
on
son's
son's head.
his
What
son's
is
head.
this?
And
Oh, I
one
read
of
a
the
book
best
about
known
this.
accounts of the legend, he split the fruit
Yes.
with just one arrow.
Oh, I read this so many times as a kid. Why can't I remember his last name?
Okay.
William the Arrow
okay.
Man.
William Tell.
Tell.
William Tell.
William Tell,
Okay. This next one is a Scottish military leader and a knight who was born in 1270. He was one
William the Great.
He was one of Scotland's most well-known figures during the wars of Scottish independence against England and late. Come on,
Oh wait, I know
William
this.
with the Fab Kill.
they made a big movie about
Yes,
it.
they did,
The,
yeah.
the Mel Gibson
Braveheart?
movie, Braveheart. was
That's
a-
great.
Yeah.
I've never
Oh,
seen it,
oh,
guys.
man.
Oh, come on.
Anyone in the comments?
My dad's seen this like a million times. I
Oh
should
yeah,
know this.
yeah. No, everybody's gonna know. Okay, somebody in the comments.
Someone save us.
Okay, so I'm gonna have. Okay.
Well. Oh
Oh, yes.
I
Come
just
on.
had it.
You had it. Okay. Is anybody still with us?
They were because Forrest said
Okay,
Tell,
let's
and
see,
Forrest said Squidward has a brother named Squid William.
Okay.
Wallace.
Oh, okay. Forrest got
William
it.
Wallace,
Go, William
yes.
Wallace.
Go,
That's right.
Forrest.
So we got Sissel, we got William.
The
and then
audience is on the board.
We got everybody else. Okay, with one. Okay. All right. So we move on. Okay. This person is well known throughout the world for his acting career. He was born in Philadelphia.
William Powell.
In addition, he is a former rapper and film producer. They collect. Okay.
I was thinking an entirely different generation.
He won
clearly.
4 Grammy
William
Awards.
Dafoe.
Well, he
Willem,
won
that's
4
Willem Dafoe.
Grammy Awards for his rapping. His stardom is increasing.
Oh, Will I Am.
No,
What?
his stardom has increased significantly because of roles in Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys for Life.
Do you think these are movies we're watching?
Okay, he
Yeah,
also famously slapped Chris Rock at the Academy Awards.
Will Smith. I don't think of him as William.
Okay,
Come on, Will I Am.
Okay, did anybody get that one? Okay,
Adrian says I'm here, but I know nothing.
Okay, he doesn't know that. Okay. Next one. Born in London, England, he's an English poet, painter, and printmaker. He is regarded as one of Romanticism's greatest personalities and is well known for his mystical and visionary writings.
William Faulkner. That was the only,
That's a good one, but
that's the only William author I could think of.
he's American.
Yeah,
William
yeah.
Faulkner.
That's what I thought. That's
he was
what
from
I thought.
like Mississippi or
Yeah,
something.
I knew he was
No,
American, but I was just like,
yeah.
maybe he was born in England.
Okay,
I don't know.
even though he had financial. Okay, blah blah. William Blake.
Oh. Okay.
Yep,
Okay,
mhm.
yeah.
Yep. He was a poet. Yeah,
Okay.
and I memorized a poem by him. I think he
Okay,
wrote a
that
poem
doesn't-
called
that-
The Tiger.
Still didn't get a point though.
But he has a poem called The Tiger. If I can say the poem Tiger, do I get a point?
No, sorry.
Let me see if I'm actually right about that.
Okay, let's see. The son of Charles, King of England.
Oh, Prince William.
Prince William, yes. Okay, you had to see that one coming, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. We have 2 more. Okay. You are mathematically eliminated from winning this. Okay,
Yeah.
William. Okay.
That is unfortunate. but
William's like, what else is new?
Okay. American software engineer and business magnate, born in Seattle, Washington in 1955.
Bill Gates.
Yes, Bill Gates.
It took me a minute.
Yeah.
There's so many nicknames for
He
William,
is
okay?
William
That's true.
Henry Gates III.
Okay, well, that's
La-ti-da.
extra. That is too extra.
We didn't need to know that.
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Final one. Okay, it's worth 6 points. I'm kidding. I'm just always trying to find a way for
Always
Cicero to lose.
to antagonize me.
Okay. Actor, comedian, writer, and producer, hails from the United States. As a cast member of the NBC sketch comedy program Saturday Night Live in the mid-1990s, he initially gained notoriety. In late 1990s,
Oh, Bill Murray.
In the
No,
late
that's
1990s
too
and early
late.
2000s, a group of top Hollywood comic performers known as the Frat Pack began to emerge. He's regarded as a member of this group. He also starred in the movie Elf.
Oh, William. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can see his face. I can see his
Yeah.
Will Ferrell.
There you go. All right.
By the
so-
way, William Blake did do the poem "The Tiger," and it's a very cool poem. So if you
And
ever
you
want
still
to read
didn't
it,
get a point.
Yeah, tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. You know,
yeah.
Okay.
what immortal
I
hand or
remember that.
eyes could frame thy fearful symmetry? You'd have heard that
I
one, right?
remember.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So-
We got a good number of people watching us on YouTube. Thank you
Yeah,
so
we
much.
do. Mario's there.
This may be a record.
Hey, and Leo Owen says
Okay.
Braveheart is really good. So
and
I'm sorry we have not watched.
I
I have not
that.
watched
I
it.
did have that Will I Am.
Will I Am?
guy.
Oh,
I thought I had that.
Yeah,
on
he's
here.
like I think he's a rapper, or producer, or something. I don't know, but his name is Will.I.M. That's like his stage name.
So did y'all see the connection, like the will of God, and
We got it,
Will.
Dave. Thank you.
Okay, just didn't know if you guys caught on to that or not.
We didn't.
Okay.
yeah, I wasn't thinking about it during
yeah.
trivia.
It's just like wow. Yeah. All right.
Man, I'm annoyed about William Blake, but it's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Everyone
Yeah.
just go read a poem by William
Sissel,
Blake.
you
you're the
Call it
only
day.
person I know who can get 6 points
and be mad.
to your opponent's 0 points and still be whining about the outcome. Okay, only Sissel Anderson does that, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
demand
okay?
perfection from
Yes,
myself.
it's like I wanted to even pound him even harder into the ground. Okay,
To be completely honest, it has nothing to do with William.
He
It has
just
only
found
to
out
do
he's
with
not
me.
getting $1,000 an episode. Okay,
Yeah.
because he didn't ask for it. Okay.
Oh, by the way, Forrest just caught on about why we were doing William.
Oh, see, I do have to remind the audience
yep,
then,
yep,
right?
exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you to James Jacoby and Sissel Anderson and Will I Am Kirkendall. And thanks everybody for watching. God willing, we're going to be back next week, and I'm actually going to return again 2 weeks in a row.
What?
Okay. All right.
There you go.
And thanks for watching, everybody. God bless you.
I
And
won't be
remember,
here, though.
always be in the will of God. Yes, Sissel will not be here, okay? See you later. Thanks for watching. God bless you. We laugh, we cry. So we wear everybody down with deep chemistic philosophy. And then we
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments
tiger
about the
or what?
show, email Dave Palmer
I don't think
at
so. I have now.
grnonline.com.
I like having you in studio. It's a whole better dynamic. I mean, it just looks bad to have the camera going through the glass, you know?
That's true.
Okay, so let's